Hello, everyone. Welcome to our joint LinkedIn live session with our partners, Accenture and Boston Dynamics. My name is Geir Engdahl. I'm the Chief Technology Officer of Cognite. I'm one of the co-founders. And with me, I have Boston Dynamics and Accenture, who are our partners in robotics and digitalization. And we are very excited to have Tim Dykstra, who's the Director of Strategic Partnerships at Boston Dynamics, and Joe Lee, Managing Director, Global Robotics Practice Lead, Industry X at Accenture. So they're joining us to discuss the robotics inspections and how robotics combined with the right software can change the way our industries operate. Tim and Joe, thank you for joining us today. Can you give our audience a quick introduction of yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having us here today. Very happy to be a part of this. So as mentioned, my name is Tim Dykstra. I lead our strategic partnerships here at Boston Dynamics, focused specifically on our Spot robot. So what that role means is I work with a variety of different partners that add things on top of the robot to make it more useful for end users. We look at our partners in a variety of different ways. We have payload partners. Those are companies that are making hardware or sensors, adding sensors to Spot and making hardware integrations with Spot. So companies like Fluke that makes a acoustic payload. We have thermal sensors and a variety of different sensors that you can add on top of it. We have partners like Cognite that focus on software and really taking the data that's collected by Spot, contextualizing it, analyzing it, and giving it in a forum that is more insightful and more useful for the end user. And then we also have solution partners, and those are really integrators that are taking Spot, they're taking payloads, they're taking software, understanding what the end user is trying to do with all that, and putting it all together and really delivering a turnkey solution for that end customer. So that's a quick intro, and I'll get it more into how our companies work together and how Spot and the Cognite Data Fusion software connect.
Very good. My name is Joe Louis. So again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us. I'm the Global Practice Lead at Accenture. So just a little bit about myself. I've been involving in robotics, digital services, and IoT for the past 15 years, developing, commercializing smart robotic solutions in different industries, including manufacturing, retail, e-commerce, logistics, mining, and construction. So my practice focus is on autonomous robotic systems. Our mission is to drive faster smart robotics adoption in our participating verticals and enable our clients' advanced manufacturing and operation transformation journey. So from my perspective, robotization is really the next stage of digital transformation towards a fully autonomous operation. So as a turnkey robotic solution provider and operator, we want to help our clients in every step along the digital transformation journey. And our service offerings span the entire end-to-end robotic value chain, from planning, development, deployment, operations, continuous improvement, all the way to maintenance, right? So recent advancements in AI and computer vision technology have accelerated, a paradigm shift towards robotic system adoption. So we apply a lot of AI and vision technologies to enable the robotic system to work in a dynamic and unstructured environment. So when it comes to AI, we need data, right? We need a lot of data from different sources. And a typical digital transformation project will start with implementing a digital twin platform to replicate each, physical asset on the site, including the robotic work cell as a digital asset with an integrated data platform that can contextualize and visualize, historical and real-time data from multiple sources to enable improved decision making on the right data at the right time and at the right place, right? So that's what we're trying to do.
That's awesome. Many tasks in the industry are perfect for robots. I mean, they're boring, repetitive, dangerous. or in remote environments. And they also require a great deal of manual data collection. And to incorporate robots into their digital transformation strategies, industrial companies need software that collects the valuable data gathered by robots, processes it, and makes insights available to all the data consumers, from control room operators and field workers to data scientists and solution engineers. So I'll start with you, Tim. How do you see the combination of robots and industrial data operations, or data ops, helping industrial companies take an important step towards an autonomous future?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess before I get into that, let me explain a little bit about kind of two different tracks that our customers are taking with our mobile robot platform, Spot. Spot is a agile mobile robot. It walks on legs, so it's able to get into terrains that that humans are used to walking in. And I often say that the world is built for humans, and so you need a robot that is able to go across those terrains. So whether there's stairs or maybe rocks or difficult terrain where a wheeled or a tracked robot can't go, that's really where Spot shines. But there's two different tracks where our customers are using it. One is you mentioned manual data collection, and we have some users, mostly in hazardous environments, that are still using Spot in a totally manual operation. They see enough value of the robot to go into a dangerous environment. Maybe it's a nuclear power plant or a decommissioned nuclear power plant, or maybe it's a fire emergency situation where they're sending Spot in, and there's enough value to just have a human on the other end looking at that data and making a decision off that data. And people are seeing real ROI out of that. So we have a group of our users that are just manually operating it. But where we see the most value is in autonomous operations, and that's really what we're here to talk about today. And so the main use case there is, Spot will walk around a facility, usually an industrial facility, and collect data on a routine basis. A lot of times this data is not being collected. And as executives across the globe are starting to develop their digital transformation strategy, what we're hearing from them is there's a data gap. There's not enough data that they have access to. They're outfitting machinery with IoT sensors or other devices, but they want more data. And that's the gap that Spot really fills, is as a data collection tool. So companies are taking that data, or taking Spot, and they're having it roam around their facility kind of as a roaming IoT device, or we call it a dynamic sensing platform. And it's collecting information and maybe looking at taking an acoustic image of something to look for a compressed air leak, or it's taking a vibration sensor and looking at the vibration on a specific piece of machinery, or it's just taking a thermal scan of something and looking for thermal anomalies using some of the computer vision that Joe mentioned earlier. And so that's the data that Spot's collecting. The next thing that we hear from our clients is, wow, Tim, we have a lot of data now. We have a lot more data than we're used to dealing with it. How do we contextualize that? How do we make sense of all this data that Spot's now collecting? And that's really where the Cognite data fusion and the data ops side of things comes into play, is contextualizing that all into one platform. So it's easier for an operator or maintenance personnel to make an effective decision based off that data that's being collected.
Yeah, it's. I really want to second your first point there on the world is built for humans. I once visited an offshore oil platform, and it's a maze of steel in the middle of the ocean with stairs, and you're really you would be hard pressed to do this with a wheeled robot, I think. On the data collection, I see a robot. It's definitely a kind of mobile IoT device which is collecting data, but it's also a consumer of this digital twin. right, in order to plan the missions and so on. So in our in robot application, which we built for Spot, you can set up missions, and you're using the digital twin that's inside Cognite Data Fusion as context for you when you're setting up that mission. So you can tell Spot where to go in the 3D model, tell Spot what to do, what assets to take pictures of, and so on. So it's really a symbiosis between the digital twin and the robot. And then, of course, the robot is not just doing inspection, but it's also like a human would, but it's improving that inspection, gathering more data, and continuously enriching that digital twin of your plant, which I think is quite profound. So, Joe, what is your take on how autonomous inspections and data ops technology will drive the industry forward?
I think data ops, offers a very flexible framework that provide the right data at the right time to the right people, right? So a lot of companies are using data ops to accelerate the collection and implementation of a data-driven business insight, right? To uncover new opportunities, to orchestrate operational activities, and even predict the future demand, right? So in my opinion, it's a very critical element to advance data-driven AI solutions. And autonomous inspection is one of the many use cases that we try to enable for our clients, right? So as a passionate robotics professionals, our true north is obviously a fully autonomous operation enabled by data-driven AI solutions, right? So in my mind, there's a three-step approach to get there. We're going to start with the robotic workcell automation, where we apply vision technologies along with AI to transform the raw data into actionable insight for motion planning, for path planning, and for object detection. Then we move on to inter-cell orchestration to make sure that all the work cells are working seamlessly together. And as a final stage, we apply AI for closed-loop factory-level control and orchestration to achieve a fully autonomous operation, right? So using data correctly and effectively will definitely drive the industry forward. So nowadays, to Tim's point, right, millions of IoT sensors and robots out there are collecting data, in different operations in different parts of the world. But unfortunately, only about 20% of data is go analyzed, right? And at the same time, our clients are telling us that the biggest challenge they are facing in adopting robotic solution is the ability to achieve projected return on investment and the ability to bring the robotic performance up to an acceptable level for large scale rollout, right? So in my mind, solving the inefficient data generation and processing problems and improving the data consistency and quality, along with a trusted digital twin platform, will definitely transform the robotics industry.
Robots and humans. So I'm convinced that there's no replacement for human ingenuity, and that's why I think our creativity and problem solving abilities should be reserved for tasks that require these skills and not boring work. Robots, of course, can help take out the lame tasks, and so we can spend more of our creativity actually improving how industry works. Robots can also help heavy industries monitor problems and detect risks before they threaten employee safety. So, Joe and Tim, what's your advice on a best practice approach to building a robotics ecosystem? How can industrial companies take a 360-degree approach to robotics, and where should they start?
I think robotics could help integrate and access data from multiple sources within the ecosystem, and it creates more potential use cases for the robot investments and require less human intervention to provide and retrieve information from the robots, right? So company will be able to take advantage of the enabling technologies such as the computer vision or AI and run comparisons within a robotic ecosystem. A robotics ecosystem can also create a collaboration arena of subject matter experts, right, to compare operational data and visual data. So in my opinion, by taking a step-by-step approach to robotics, could potentially make some critical progress in their pathway to advanced automation.
Yeah, I think those are great points from Joe. And that step-by-step approach, I think, is very important. I've been in the robotics space for over 15 years now, and the beautiful thing is, I started with 6-axis robots and some, at the time it was vision-guided robotics and fairly innovative things. I worked in the warehouse space for a while with robotic forklifts, and now obviously with Spot at Boston Dynamics. And the one thing that is common across the robot adoption life cycle is that the best thing to do is to start with one robot. And so, what we've seen, the most successful users with Spot started with one robot. They started with one kind of simple use case or very straightforward use case where they could start to prove how the robot is going to function in their operation and work in their environment. When I was in the warehouse robotic space, I used to say, start with moving one pallet from this location to another location. And then you expand your routes get more complex. You build integrations into your warehouse management system. And the same approach can be said for Spot. Our best users are starting with a small proof of concept to a certain extent, where they're showing maybe Spot doing a thermal anomaly detection on 20, 40 assets in a couple of missions. And then from there, they build that out. And what that does is it gains acceptance of the robot in the facility. People working around it get used to it, they get comfortable with it, they understand the nuances of it. And as you design more complex missions and start adding new inspection types, you have that foundation laid. Once you have that kind of fully autonomous inspection going, that's really when you start to tie in the end-to-end solution. So you're tying in the data integrations, making sure those work well. Tying in maybe work ticket systems so that people start to get autonomous notifications, and you have a work ticket that's automatically created based off the insight that the robot provides. And then, in the future, Boston Dynamics recently released an arm for Spot, and maybe even Spot can start to perform some of those work tickets. Maybe it can turn off a valve or turn off a switch or something like that. So, that's kind of the workflow that we see is most successful: is start small, start with one robot, do POCs, do pilots, and then you'll work your way into a larger scale deployment. And that's a model that's, in my mind, has been successful in robotics for many, many years.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point. We also got a comment here from one of our viewers, Abdullah Montasheri, saying the contextualization of data collected by inspection robots, for example, requires digitalization of the inspection business processes. Inspection robots will only digitize the data collection part, but analyzing this data to make sound decisions needs to digitalize the end-to-end inspection process, which I think also you were touching upon there, Tim. It's not just the observations that you're gathering. You have to put those observations kind of into a context so that you can make decisions based on those observations, and then you have to act on it. So it's kind of this OODA loop, if you will, of observing, orienting, deciding, and acting. And it's kind of, you need to integrate it into the wider process. So I think that's a very spot on comment. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great comment that I agree with. Is it requires that end-to-end solution, not just the inspection or data collection piece.
Same here. I believe it's a great comment. Right, that makes a lot of sense.
also got a comment from Tim Shi. Like any digital technology, in order to be successful, it will require an ecosystem. Or some might say it takes a village, since no one company can do it all and make it work. I think us three being here today is one example of that. And there's a large ecosystem. There's a huge opportunity in this space, and so definitely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. Especially, I'm as the director of strategic partnerships. Obviously, I would say this, but I'm a firm believer that companies should stay in their expertise. Boston Dynamics, we're experts at robotic technology and legged robots, but we're not computer vision experts like Joe and his team are, and we're not data fusion experts like the folks at Cognite are. So it does require that full ecosystem to really deliver that full solution.
Yeah, I guess I completely agree with this, right? So as part of our service offering, we also offer ecosystem management, right? So what we want to do is to really embrace the best of the solution in the market, right? And kind of integrate them together and deliver a turnkey solution to our clients, right? So that makes a lot of sense.
There's a question from the audience here from Esma Goulton. There are lots of digitalization requirements at site. Which one do you see as a priority? It's kind of an open.
Wow, that's an open question. I think it really depends on the industry, on the site. I think what some of our partners do a really good job of is what we call use case ideation, and really working with the end user to understand where problems are, where pain points are, where they're lacking data. And then from there you can start to say, okay, what data challenges do you want to tackle first? Which digitalization challenges do you want to put as your priority? So I don't know if there's anything that stands out as a specific priority. The one thing we hear a lot is that I mentioned it before, but there's a data gap. That's a common trend that we're hearing from CIOs and CTOs, across the globe, is that, hey, we wish we had more data, because people want to get to that predictive maintenance state where they're starting to predict downtime and prevent downtime, and the only way to do that is with access to more data. So that's, if I had to pick out one, I think that'd be the theme I hear.
There's also another question from the same viewer. What do you think about 3D visualization? Do you think these digital workflows should be integrated to 3D?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for I would say AGV, depends on the use cases, right? AGV, AMR, so to have a 3D visualization to compare, your digital twin, I think it's super useful.
Yeah, we also see this a lot with there are various plants. Some are new, some are old, some have great CAD models, some don't.
That's right.
And a lot of having this kind of 3D model makes it, one, easier to find data, and two, it makes it so much easier to visualize data. So it's really something that the human brain can understand, and it makes it a lot harder when you don't have that 3D model. Now, luckily, you can, with robotics, build a 3D model from imagery and keep it up to date, which is something that no CAD model is going to do out of the box, right? Even if you have a great CAD model, reality kicks in, stuff gets modified, moved around, and so on. So it's very hard to keep that in sync with reality. So I think 3D is also part of the robotics application that we built in Robot. Is the 3D view where you're setting up the missions.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a lot less intuitive without that. So with that, I think we're out of time. Thank you very much for joining us today, Joe and Tim. This was a very insightful discussion, and I'm sure we got a lot of takeaways from it today. To everyone watching us, thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this session too.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much.